Nice to see you all here for the third Blue Tech conference. I guess you will be talking a lot about Blue Tech and Blue Economy this morning, so I wanted to give you a slightly different angle, which is a spotlight on the Israeli high-tech as a whole since October 7th. And then I'll also speak a little bit about Blue Tech. First of all, it's well known that Israeli high-tech is the engine of the Israeli economy, and I would like to show you a few numbers that show this. Real economical indications. Our last conference, Blue Tech conference, was in July 23. And I showed, when I was giving my speech here, I showed the numbers of 22. And it wasn't clear what will be the results of 23, given the fact that we were into a global drop in investments in the tech sector, and given the fact that we were in a very, very stressful political debate. But yet, when you look upon the numbers of 23, still the high-tech shows its strength to the Israeli economy. You can see here few numbers. 6.1% of GDP invested in R&D, 12% of employees work in the tech sector, 20% of GDP is created in the tech sector, 36% of income tax is paid by tech employees, and more than 50% of Israeli export is based on tech products and services. So you can see that despite all the challenges in 23, the Israeli high-tech is still very, very strong. We looked at the numbers of how important is the tech sector for the Israeli economy, but I want also to show you how important is the Israeli tech sector for the global tech economy or industry. Well, here you can see a comparison using the number of active tech companies in every tech hub in the world. We compare ourselves to either small nations in our size or to metropolitan areas in Europe, Asia, and America in the size of Israel. You can see that Israel, in absolute number, is only third to the Silicon Valley and to the New York area in terms of number of technology-based companies. This is, I think, an amazing outcome, and on the right-hand side you can see that more than 500 multinationals have established here a presence. It's typically R&D presence. I think that the city of Haifa enjoys quite a few of them. When you get into the city, coming from Tel Aviv, you see Matam with all the multinational logos. Only few cities in the world have such presence of those global brands. This is why Israel has a special agency for high-tech. This is the Innovation Authority. Our mission in life is to strengthen the competitiveness of the Israeli tech hub. There are many tech hubs rising in the world, a few in the States, in Europe, in Asia. They are all competing for the same resources: venture funds, entrepreneurs, employees, researchers. They all try to attract the best talent and the best investors. Israel, as we saw, is ranked very, very high, and our job as a government agency is to sustain this high ranking and to improve all the time the competitiveness of the Israeli high-tech. We do this in three different ways. One is direct investments into early stage and growth companies, into disruptive innovation, which the private sector cannot fund by itself because of the high level of risk. So we invest our money in the form of grants. The second way is investing in emerging technologies. When we identify a technology which is vital for the longer term success of the Israeli high-tech, we invest in developing labs, national labs, and talent, and investing in applied research. And last but not least, investing also in removal of growth barriers, regulation, taxation, and so forth, to make sure that Israel is not only a startup nation where startups are created, but also a good place to grow the companies into large multinationals based out of Israel for the success of the entire economy. Now, that was all before October 7th and before the crisis that we are in right now. Just to remind you all, we started this crisis situation in the middle of 22. Inflation rates, interest rates, global macroeconomics have created a sharp decline in investments in the tech sector globally and also in Israel. Since the beginning of 23, we are in a judicial debate which created a lot of uncertainty in our local ecosystem. And since the beginning of Q4, we are in a state of war. So, if you will, a kind of a perfect storm in which Israeli tech companies and executives and founders and CEOs have to operate in order to continue to deliver on their commitments to their investors and global customers and so forth. And the question is obviously, how did we do in this last almost 1 year since the war broke? How does it look? Are we still strong? Are we losing strength? So this is the answer. You can see here a graph that shows the level of investments in startups in Israel in all stages, private companies, from October 7th in every year to August 15, so almost a term of 1 year. So obviously you can see here a sharp decline, right? You can see the decline here between what happened in 22 to what happened in 23 and 24. But you have to look at it with some interpretation. First of all, you can see that we are back to the levels of the years, before 21 and 22, which were kind of anomal years. And on the right-hand side, you can see, again, a comparison for the same period, more or less. It's half 124 versus half 123. The increase or decline in investments in the different tech hubs in the world. And you can see that Israel is more or less on average. So you can see that some tech hubs, there was increase in investments. In some of them, there was a decrease in investment. So this is quite an amazing result that despite all the local challenges that we have here, I think that Israeli tech sustains its strength. It's very difficult what will happen next. Obviously, we don't know how the war develops and how it ends and when it ends. So I cannot do any predictions about the future, but at least looking at the past since the war broke, I think we are in a relatively good situation. Okay, now when the war broke, it was evident that the major challenge of companies in the tech sector was fundraising. We did a survey, I think it was 10 days after October 7th, and we realized that hundreds of early stage companies were in the middle of fundraising ground. And their investors got cold and froze the investment round, and they were in a risk of shutdown because they had no more money in their pocket to pay salaries, runways of less than 6 months. And therefore, we have already on November 1st declared a new fund, emergency bridging fund, budgeted at $100 million for those early stage pre-revenues with short runways of companies. If you will, this is maybe the most precious asset of a startup nation. This is the next wave of startups that will create growth in Israel. This fund was open for 3 months, invested in 250 startups, also bringing matching funds of private investors, bringing it to a total of $250 million. So this asset was protected in a very fast manner, but that was only band-aid. Following that, we have launched 2 more strategic initiatives. One is the Yozma Fund. Without getting into all the details, this fund is going to incentivize Israeli institutional investors to invest in Israeli venture funds, approximately $1 billion in the next 18 months. and this is to assure that there is enough money in the venture funds, in the VC community to invest in early stage companies to prevent any negative scenario with that regards. Last but not least, another strategic move is a new fund of, we call it the Startup Fund Keren Haznek for deep tech companies, and most probably blue tech, is deep tech in most cases, because we want to create the optimal funding environment for deep tech early stage companies in Israel in comparison to tech hubs in the world. And for those of you in the audience that are entrepreneurs and founders of startups, this is the most important slide in my presentation. This is the Startup Fund Keren Haznek. You can see here the different stages of the fund. You can see what is the percentage of investment we can give out of every round. 80% if it's only an idea, even before establishing a company, 60% of pre-seed round, 50% of seed, and 30% of A round. Again, the idea is to make sure that Israel is the best place for entrepreneurs to start their deep tech company. So go for it. Now, a few words about blue tech. Many people ask what is blue tech. The way we look at it from our angle, the Innovation Authority, we look at two different areas of activities. First of all, the ocean as a resource place for natural resources, energy, cultivation, aquaculture, water, etc., and also as an environment for transportation, for tourism, for communication, for trade, for many other things. So all the companies that somehow relate to those definitions are, from our point of view, blue tech. And when we estimate that there are about 200 such companies today, startups in Israel. And when we look upon our investments, you can see that we invested in the recent years in about 90 out of them, about 200 million shekels, sorry, and you can also see the spread across different sectors of blue tech. Beyond that, I invite you all, again, entrepreneurs, executives, CEOs of tech companies, browse our website. There are many other programs and funds to help you in the different stages of your tech venture, starting with applied research in the academia, ideation, startup fund, which I mentioned, those companies that already developed their product and want now to open their production line, pilot fund, and also Horizon Europe, which is the European R&D program, 100 billion euros that Israel participates in, and you can submit and get some grants also from there. So to conclude my part, I would like to end with an optimistic note and quote Albert Einstein that said that in the middle of every difficulty lies an opportunity. I truly believe that this situation that was forced upon us will eventually make us stronger than before. I myself, worked in the high-tech sector for more than 30 years now. And we've seen many downturns, and the common denominator, all of them was that Israeli tech was only stronger after the downturn. And I believe that this will be also the case this time. Empiric studies all over the world and also in Israel shows that the best companies that were created in times of crisis. This will be the case also this time. And many good companies will start their operation despite all the challenges now and become global leaders in their domain. Thank you very much.